97.3 ESPN, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hinnick.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hinnick.
Well, you know, the Phillies would be the lead topic of any show today. But as Mike Gill and I found out earlier today, the Philadelphia Eagles just can't stay away from the headlines. We got Nick Sirianni news to get into, and we will recap what happened this weekend because Mick Abel, Jose Alvarado, and more were part of the conversation on a Sunday afternoon. As always, you guys can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. You know, like I said, I will get into the Alvarado stuff because I wrote an article about it at 973ESPN.com, and I have a lot of thoughts on him and his PED suspension. But we got to start with the Nick Sirianni news because the Philadelphia Eagles, and look, I'm not saying they did it on purpose, but it kind of does feel like there was a part of the Eagles that saw the Sixers and the rumor mill and the Flyers hiring a head coach and the Phillies having this amazing start by Mick Abel and Jose Alvarado getting suspended. And it was almost like Howie Roseman, the Eagles, sat back and said, what can we do to steal attention away from the other teams? I know. We've been waiting to give Sirianni this contract. Let's get this contract done now. So, look, Sirianni getting the contract should not be a surprise to anyone, okay? You win a Super Bowl championship, you're going to be in a position to get a pretty serious contract extension. And all the reporting out there has been very clear. The reporting is that Nick Sirianni is getting a multi-year deal, and he is going to be among the highest paid coaches in the sport. Well, let's be honest, okay? When you talk about the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, it is honestly wild that until the last 10 years, no one has won a championship in this city. Not Dick Vermeil, not Buddy Ryan, not Andy Reid. It was first Doug Peterson and then Nick Sirianni. But Sirianni did something that even the other great coaches never did. Sirianni is the first Eagles head coach to lead the franchise to 2 Super Bowl appearances. And you could honestly say that the man just does not get enough credit for doing something that is very difficult. As Ian Rappaport explained earlier today, NFL Network insider, he explained to Pat McAfee in the Pat McAfee Show.
Philly is not for everyone. I would say to succeed there as an athlete, as a coach, as an executive, you got to take a lot of shrapnel, a lot of blows, a lot of blowback. It is a lot of booze. If you win there, then it is special. And I think Nick Sirianni is kind of finding that out now.
And it is special because, as he said, you have to avoid a lot of craziness in a city like Philadelphia. You know, if Sirianni's coaching somewhere like the Indianapolis Colts or an area like the Arizona Cardinals, you're not getting the level of passion from the fan base. You're not getting the intense scrutiny from the media. You know, every town that's got a professional sports team has sports talk media, but everywhere I've been in the country, you don't hear sports talk like you hear in the Northeast. It's really only places like Philadelphia and New York City and Boston and Pittsburgh, and to an extent, Cleveland. It's kind of like this northern corridor where you get this level of passionate sports talk, sports fandom. It's like a combination of the two. You know, you'll go some places and the fans will be passionate, but the media is disinterested. You'll go places where the media, will ratchet up the intensity, but the fans don't care as much. It's the combination of both. And for Sirianni to come into Philadelphia and to win a championship after he was labeled basically an idiot and a loser and an immature little child and all the other different names. Remember, this is a guy who less than 12 months ago, people like myself right here on 97.3 ESPN were wondering, is this guy going to keep his job? It wasn't that long ago that we were ripping him for going after the fans, his own fans. It's one thing to have an argument and trash talk with the opposing fans. That in of itself is a little weird in places like Indianapolis and Kansas City. It's another thing that Sirianni, in that Browns game, went after his own fans. There has been doubts about this man from day one, as is explained by NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport on the Pat McAfee show.
When he got hired, a lot of people, including me, watched his press conference and took this coach who most people hadn't really heard of, who, certainly hadn't proven himself as like the top coordinator, and we're like, does Philly know what it's doing? What they found, what we didn't know, was an elite leader. Take all the things you want, play calling and whatever, like an elite leader of men. And that is really what he is. He has proven that. They are the champs, and he is very richly rewarded.
It's true. It's 100% true. Because what we have found out about Nick Sirianni is that he may not be the best coach when it comes to X's and O's. But frankly, being a great X's and O's coach doesn't really matter. Look, there was a time in the NFL where being the smartest football guy mattered. There was a time in the NFL where being the top of the rung when it comes to football intelligence mattered. But that was the 60s, 70s, and 80s. In the modern age, you got to manage personalities actually better than you need to manage the football game. Yes, timeouts, game strategy, in-game decision-making, these do matter. But there's a reason why Kyle Shanahan has not won a championship. And it's not because he's an idiot. It's not because he's a bum. It's because in the biggest game, he has not been able to get the best out of his players. Kyle Shanahan, as an offense coordinator and a head coach, has coached in the Super Bowl 3 times. He had a chance to win all 3 of those games, and he choked it away in one way or another. You want to blame his defense. You want to blame his quarterback. You want to blame his offensive linemen. You want to blame his receivers dropping balls. You can blame him whatever he wants. But he has been the head coach who has gotten to the precipice 3 times and came up short. Sirianni got to 1 championship, had a lead, and lost it. And a lot of people blame the defense and Jonathan Gannon. Sirianni got back to the championship game with a better defensive coordinator, on a better football field, with a better roster, and won it all. The argument starts in 2025 when you have the conversation of who the greatest head coaches in Eagles history are. Sirianni is in a conversation with a very, very short list. And the names on that list, excuse me, the names on that list are all either current or future Hall of Famers. Because Sirianni has done something that Doug Peterson never did. He has done things that Andy Reid never did, that Dick Vermeil never did, when Buddy Ryan never did. And there's a whole slew of guys who coached this team before the Super Bowl era who were a part of NFL history, who won NFL championships. But even those guys do not have some of the accolades that Sirianni has. Okay? You can pull up Greasy Neal. You can name whoever you want from back in the day at Franklin Field. But the reality is Sirianni is in a very, very, very elite club. There is only a handful of men who have been to multiple Super Bowls and have won and at least lost one. Most of these coaches have either gone to a championship and only won, or gone to a championship and only lost. Bill Walsh never lost a Super Bowl game. Chuck Noll, Vince Lombardi, Hank Stram never lost. On the flip side, Marv Levy never won. Dan Reeves never won. You see the pattern here, folks? If you are a head coach, you either win or you'll lose Super Bowls. There's a very, very tiny group of men who have won and lost championships. It's Bill Belichick. It's Tom Landry. It's Mike Tomlin. It's Bill Cowher. You see the names I'm naming here? That's where Nick Sirianni is. And as Pat McAfee points out on the Pat McAfee Show, Nick Sirianni deserves more credit.
These are actual humans who worry about their legacy. They worry about their future contracts. They worry about their targets. They worry about their success, trying to build their careers. These guys are trying not to get cut. These guys are trying to get their next contracts as well. So him being able to navigate those waters, but him being able to keep everybody on the same page, that's coaching.
Yes.
That is literally what coaching is, bringing the best out of your team.
More from Pat McAfee on who those players are who are humans that Nick Sirianni got to play at the highest level and help this team win a championship.
But having a brand new player come into your team,
Yes,
and take over the offense when you've already max paid two guys that are wide receivers, like that could be a tough task for a coach to keep a locker room together. Especially you talk about sacrificing targets. It's like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they're already sacrificing targets for each other.
Yeah.
Now they come in and we're going to be a run-first team. It's like the coach has to keep everybody together. And guess who are the ones that dumped the Gatorade on Nick Sirianni after he won the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah.
It was A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, the wide receivers who he had to rally and keep invested.
Coming up on the other side, we'll get your guys' thoughts on the conversation. Nick Sirianni, contract extension, plus Jose Alvarado, 80-game suspension, ineligible for the postseason as the Phillies lose their best reliever, plus the debut of Mick Abel, who did something who had not been done by a Phillies pitcher making their debut since 1947. All that and more still to come here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and we are live on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig.
I thought people like me didn't get addicted to drugs. That's like saying people like me don't get sick. Just like anyone can get sick, anyone can struggle with addiction. And when you're struggling, there's no shame in getting help. I'm over the shame. I know who I am, and I'm in recovery for me.
Call 844-REACH-NJ. Talk to a counselor for confidential addiction help and see if you're eligible for no-cost treatment. 844-REACH-NJ from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
For 75 years, Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning has been the name you trust, where one call does it all. Jenkins expert technicians have been delivering top-notch service to local homeowners. Renovating your kitchen or bath? Call Jenkins. Need a new heating or air conditioning system, service or maintenance, or even ductless air conditioning? Jenkins has you covered. They also specialize in water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing and drain cleaning, water line, and sewer main repairs or replacements. Call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com today.
Resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/radio. Zip Intro. Post jobs today, talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ziprecruiter.com/radio to try it for free. That's ziprecruiter.com/radio.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. Christopher Sanchez gets the start tonight for the Phillies, who are in Denver for a 4-game series against the Colorado Rockies, who have the worst record in Major League Baseball. Sanchez 4-1 with a 2.91 ERA. Colorado going with Kyle Freeland, who's 0-6, has an ERA over 6. The Phillies coming off a 1-0 win Sunday against Pittsburgh, where they swept the Pirates in 3 games. The Eagles have agreed to a multi-year deal with head coach Nick Sirianni. While terms were not disclosed, he was entering the final year of his contract that he signed in 2021. Sirianni has a 70% winning percentage at 54-23. He's taken the Eagles to 2 Super Bowls with 1 championship. One other Eagles note, Joe Douglas, who served as the Eagles vice president of player personnel for 4 seasons and then general manager of the New York Jets, has returned to Philadelphia in a senior scouting role. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
It's time to make your yard the best on the block with Memorial Day savings at the Home Depot. Start by keeping the weeds at bay with Earthgrow Mulch, now 4 for $10. Then keep your garden thriving with Miracle-Gro Garden Soil, now on special buy, 4 for $10. Give your neighbors yard envy all summer long with Memorial Day savings going on now at the Home Depot.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. We'll squeeze out one more nice day tomorrow before wet, miserable rain returns to the forecast for a couple days. Tonight will be clear and cool. Low temperature dips to 50, and tomorrow ends up a little cooler than today. High 68 with sunshine and late-day clouds. Watch for a shower building in late tomorrow night. Wednesday, periods of rain, cloudy and cool, high of only 56. More rain Thursday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Atlantic County is on the move, and the English Creek Tilton Road Fare-Free Community Shuttle will get you where you need to go. Work, medical appointments, family visits, shopping, and more. Every Monday through Friday, the English Creek Tilton Road Community Shuttle links residents to New Jersey Transit buses, serving Egg Harbor Township and Northfield, with stops on Tilton Road, Black Horse Pike, Shore Road, Delilah Road, and English Creek Avenue. For maps and schedules, visit driveless.com. That's driveless.com.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
By the way, one more factoid about Nick Sirianni before we get to the text board at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN Mobile app powered by First Bank, a CLSC messages from George from Summers Point, and more to get to. Nick Sirianni is one of only 3 head coaches in NFL history who have reached 2 Super Bowl appearances in their first 4 years and who won one of those appearances. Joe Gibbs was the first one, Mike Tomlin was the second, and the third is Nick Sirianni. Now, where Nick Sirianni lands on the pantheon of head coaching depends on, is the rest of his coaching career more like Mike Tomlin or more like Joe Gibbs? Here's what I mean by that. Since Mike Tomlin got to a Super Bowl twice in the first 4 seasons, he has never been back. Not once. He got to a Super Bowl in the 2008 and 2010 seasons. He has not been back to the Super Bowl. Guys, had some really good teams, Mike Tomlin, but he hasn't gotten back to have a chance to win the Lombardi. In fact, when you look at the Steelers since 2010, Mike Tomlin has only gotten the team back to 1 conference championship game, that being 2016. On the flip side, after Joe Gibbs won 1, lost 1 in his first 4 years, Joe Gibbs went on to have an incredible run as a head coach, winning 2 more Super Bowls with 2 different quarterbacks. And I don't really include his second time round with Washington because, let's be realistic, he was trying to bail out Daniel Snyder's abomination of running football teams as an owner, and even he couldn't do that. But still, Joe Gibbs, legend. Mike Tomlin, considered one of the best coaches in the game today. But will Nick Sirianni be more like Tomlin and only get the 1 more conference championship game, or will he get back and win 2 more championships like Joe Gibbs? Something to think about as we move forward. 609-403-0973. George in Summers Point's kind of picking up what I'm putting down in this conversation. He says, hey, Josh, I know that Nick Sirianni has been a controversial figure before winning a championship, but where would you rank Sirianni among the greatest Eagles coaches of all time? The Dick Vermeil era forward. That's from George in Summers Point. Well, if we're to make a list of the 5 best head coaches in Eagles history from Dick Vermeil on, I think Vermeil is in that 5. So is Andy Reid. So is Sirianni. So is Doug Peterson. And then probably Buddy Ryan is the 5th name you throw in there. Because Chip Kelly was an aggressive disappointment. Ray Rhodes never really worked out the way you had hoped. And Rich Kotite was a disaster. So if I had to rank the coaches, I still think that until Sirianni gets to 1 more championship or wins 1 more championship, see, it's hard because I don't want to ignore that Andy Reid is the winningest coach in Eagles history. He got this team. Well, first of all, he is responsible for everything you see today. The entire 21st century Philadelphia Eagles being a perennial championship contenders because of what Andy Reid did. 5 NFC championship games cannot be ignored. Doug only got the 1, and he got to a Super Bowl. So, to me, I think this should be the list for right now. Andy 1, Sirianni 2, Doug Peterson 3, Dick Vermeil 4, Buddy Ryan 5. I think that's got to be the top 5. And if you're making a Mount Rushmore, it's the top 4. It's Andy Reid, Nick Sirianni, Doug Peterson, Dick Vermeil. Because the problem with Buddy Ryan is he never won a playoff game. Chip Kelly never won a playoff game. Ray Rhodes, that fizzled real quick with Ray Rhodes. And nobody in their right mind is giving Rich Kotite credit for anything. All right, so I think that's the way it should be ranked. And listen, if you guys have a different ranking, let me know at 609-403-0973. George, Numbers Point asked the question. I gave the answer. I think right here, right now, you got to give Sirianni credit for being number 2 on the list. Because the problem for Doug was, one, the Doug Peterson Eagles did what the Charlie Manuel Phillies did. They won a championship and then regressed every year after that. Doug got to the playoffs in 2018, couldn't get past the divisional round. Got to the playoffs 2019, couldn't get past the wild card round. 2020, couldn't even make the postseason. So to me, I think Doug is closer to Charlie Manuel. And I think Sirianni's, there's really no comp in Philly sports, I think, at this point. I'm trying to think. Because the problem for the Phillies is that, Bob Boone, not Bob Boone, good grief. Bob Boone was the catcher for that team. Dallas Green, when he won that championship, he was not a part of the team that got back to the World Series in 83. So his tenure was very, very different. Dallas Green is not... He is applauded as that whole team is applauded. But I think a lot of people don't look at the manager of those Phillies teams and give those guys a ton of credit, because people look at the players like Mike Schmidt and, Pete Rose and Steve Carlton and Greg Lazinski. Like, they look at the players, because people forget, Danny Ozark was the manager before Dallas Green. And then when Dallas Green left after, the 81 season? The manager was of the World Series team. Was it Paul Owens or Pat Corrales? I'm having trouble remembering. And I know somebody out there is listening, shaking their fist at the radio now. But still, the point is that Dallas Green didn't coach both of those teams, the 80 and 83 team. Sixers only got to one NBA Finals. But after 83, they didn't do anything really after 83. And then the Flyers, they went back-to-back in the 70s. Nick Sirianni has gone back-to-back, so it's not really a good comparison either. Maybe we can lump Billy Cunningham into the conversation because they lost the year before and won the next year, but how much of that was Billy Cunningham and how much of that was Moses Malone? I tend to think it's more Moses Malone than Billy Cunningham. So, yeah, Sirianni is in a very, 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 very unique set of circumstances in the city of Philadelphia. Texter chimes in, didn't leave their name, but we'll read your text at 609-403-0973. Says, I see a lot of fans yelling about Jose Alvarado, calling him a cheater and wanting him gone. I feel like the same guys are wearing Lane Johnson jerseys at the Link every Sunday. It's a great thread by you, Texter. I would like to give you credit, but you didn't leave your name. But I wrote about this 973ESPN.com. There is some comparables between what happened with Lane Johnson in 2016 and what's happening with Jose Alvarado here. And so since the texter brought it up, we'll get into it. So as I detailed at 973ESPN.com, the Jose Alvarado situation is very similar to Lane Johnson in the fact that both men got penalized for taking a supplement that in and of itself is not against the rules. When Lane Johnson took what has been described as an amino acid supplement back in 2016, and then Jose Alvarado took a weight loss supplement in 2025, both men we're not in trouble for taking supplements because everybody takes supplements at this point, okay? I mean, there literally is a portal that Major League Baseball uses for players to search whatever they want. You can search any, and the link to the portal is in the article I gave you guys at 973ESPN.com. If I can find the portal and I can find the ban list, anyone can find the ban list. I did the same thing in 2016, and I did it now. I wrote about Lane Johnson in 2016, too. That's how long I've been here at 97.3 ESPN. I was here on the radio with Mike Gill on the Sports Bash talking about Lane Johnson in 2016, and I'm talking about Jose Alvarado now. So here's the lowdown. Like Lane Johnson, Jose Alvarado never checked, never followed up to verify if the supplement he was using was covered or cleared by Major League Baseball, by the Major League Baseball Players Association, or by NFF's sports conduct and code when it comes to supplements. For those who don't know, NSF is an independent organization that is not affiliated with any government, that is utilized by professional sports leagues and supplement companies around the world. So Jose Alvarado at any time could have double-checked to find out if what he was taking was cleared, but he didn't. So what did Jose Alvarado get in trouble for? Well, apparently in this unnamed supplement he was taking, which according to, and we'll play the audio here, Dave Dombrowski explains that he doesn't think Jose Alvarado knew he was taking a performance-enhancing drug. This is Phillies President of Baseball Operations, Dave Dombrowski, before yesterday's game.
It's not something he did knowingly. I believe that, the way he talked to me. We had our support. It's a very, basically the system is a very stringent system. It's very, because in the sense that you're responsible for what goes into your body. That's what it really comes down to. And so I know what he was doing. He was trying to take a weight loss reduction. That's what he's always been self-conscious of, his weight and working hard on it. And something he took gave a positive result.
Now, there's a lot there that we can get into, okay? But let's get to the facts of the case, okay? He says he didn't knowingly take it. Now, he's always been self-conscious about his weight. So Alvarado, according to multiple reports, had tested positive. Now, in separate reports, it says that he tested negative after the positive test. So read into that what you will. That's a different conversation. But what he was flagged for was what is known as exogenous testosterone. All right. It is a type of synthetic testosterone that can be found in medical treatments such as TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, and certain weight loss supplements. Now, the purpose of synthetic testosterone is it's supposed to, when it comes to weight loss, infuse the body with an extra amount of testosterone to offset estrogen production, because estrogen production tends to slow down the metabolism and increase fat loss in men. Okay? Because for those who don't know, testosterone and estrogen have different chemical effects on men versus women's bodies, okay? And I'm not going to get into a whole biological diagnosis here. But basically the general thing that you need to know is that the substance at Jose Alvarado, he did not take any random testosterone supplement. Apparently, and there are many of these products, okay? Now, I'm not going to name the names because we're not going to publicize these companies. But there are many companies that put what is known as a synthetic testosterone into weight loss supplements as a way of trying to accelerate what is known as sustained weight loss. The problem with these subjects is that because it is synthetic, that is actually dangerous in terms of for a man's health, okay? There are numerous studies out there that show that consistent use of synthetic testosterone without a medical supervision can lead to infertility in men, and it actually can damage the body's natural ability to produce testosterone. So this thing is actually pretty legit serious, okay? And that's part of the reason why it's banned by Major League Baseball and other organizations, because of the fact that these supplements are not backed by science. They are made by people who are just trying to make money off of people. And for professional athletes, you don't want to give anyone an unfair advantage when it comes to anything. Now, did the supplement itself make Jose Alvarado a better player? Well, that was a conversation that was discussed by Ruben Amaro Jr., former baseball player and former Phillies general manager, and longtime Phillies beat writer Jim Salisbury earlier today on the Philly Show podcast.
You're looking at his number. His velo was down a tick last year. Strikeout rate was down a tick last year. This year, they are both up. So there was
it seemingly had some effect. But I looked back at it. The sinker was 2 miles an hour faster this year, and the slider, cutter, whatever you want to call it, was 1 mile an hour faster this year. So a little bit more effective as well.
And the strikeouts were significantly up.
Who knows? I mean, even mentally, he probably felt his stuff overall.
Now, for those who don't know, I am a National Academy of Sports Medicine certified with 4 different certifications. One of those certifications, for those who aren't aware, is in the psychology of weight loss and weight management. Another of the certifications is as a fitness nutrition specialist. Those are 2 of my 4 certifications. So I'm speaking to you not just as a sports junkie and a passionate sports fan and the guy on 97.3 ESPN, but I'm also bringing you into what is known as my wheelhouse, which is the health and fitness world. So in the health and fitness world, there are many, many, many supplements that are considered enhancers. But it is also known in the health and fitness world that not every item that is on the PED list by Major League Baseball is actually considered an actual performance enhancer. The problem with this conversation is that for many, 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 many people, okay, there is a direct association between PEDs when it comes to baseball and performance enhancement. And even if we prove that taking a synthetic testosterone, no matter how much it was, did not actually improve Jose Alvarado, there is statistical evidence, as you heard, that says that he was pitching better this year than he did last year. So even though there is a crazy long list of supplements that you are not allowed to consume according to Major League Baseball, and if you're watching on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig, I will scroll through some of those names for you, just to show you how ridiculous and how long this list is of what can and cannot be used, why they can and cannot be used. The reality is that if you are a baseball player, you have resources. I mean, there is 80 plus pages in this document that tells you what you can and cannot use, when you can and cannot use them. And not all of these supplements are actual enhancers. But in the world of professional sports, if anything can give someone an edge, even if that edge is just losing weight, and if losing that weight makes you more confident, baseball says, ban Jose Alvarado. And just like Lane Johnson in 2016, when you have the resources, when you have available to you, okay, the ability to make sure that you don't test positive and you don't use it, that is your own fault. And that's part of the reason why John Kruk, former Phillies player, said this on yesterday's Phillies broadcast on NBC Sports Philadelphia.
To me, if I was a teammate of Jose Alvarado, I would consider it a very selfish move on his part, putting the team at risk by knowing that if you got caught, you would get 80 games. I don't. If I'm a player on this team right now, I don't think I'd be real happy with him.
It is a selfish decision, okay? It is not something that should be taken lightly. But as the texter pointed out, who didn't leave their name, and I wish they did because I would have given them credit for it, the people who are yelling about Jose Alvarado probably were the same people yelling about Lane Johnson years ago. The perception that Jose Alvarado or Lane Johnson fall into the same category as classic performance-enhancing dopers like Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco, and others is aggressively false and inaccurate and is incredibly unfair to those athletes. You cannot be a person who is being intellectually honest and not be able to draw the line between someone who mistakenly took something without double checking it and someone who blatantly had anabolic steroids in their locker and borderline bragged about it before it was ever flagged that they should not have been doing that. Now, should Jose Alvarado face the music yesterday? Yes. Instead, he hightailed it out of town and didn't want to face the media, didn't want to talk to anybody, and ran away. Literally ran away from the media scrutiny. That tells me that Jose Alvarado is very embarrassed. And if Jose Alvarado is that embarrassed about what happened, I honestly hope he gets therapy. Because humans make mistakes. People make mistakes. And Jose Alvarado's reaction wasn't to get up in front of the media and say, I made a mistake. His reaction was to run away. So, I honestly am a little concerned about Jose Alvarado's mental, if he's okay as a human being right now. Because if you're running away like he did, it's a bad sign. All right, coming up on the other side, George from Galloway, along with Pat and EHT. I want to get to you guys' text on the other side. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And we are live, as always, on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig.
We're famous for our buffalo wings. The Piccalilli. When it comes to cooking wings, we're the king. The Piccalilli.
On game day, don't wing it. Take the trip to the Pick, South Jersey's king of the wing. Try their award-winning wings, tails, and ears in mild, spicy, or hot, or signature flavors like garlic parm, hot honey, Jim Beam maple, and more. For eat-in or takeout, get your chicken wing fix on Route 206 at the Piccalilli Inn. Join the flock. Follow them on Facebook for events and game day specials.
This Memorial Day, turn up the heat with the Home Depot. Find the perfect grill and patio set to keep the cookouts coming all season long. Grill up a feast with the Next Grill 4-burner gas grill, only $229. And complete your space with the stylish Glen Ridge Falls 7-piece dining set, now on special buy for just $499 with free delivery. Take your Memorial Day cookout to the next level all summer long with the Home Depot. See homedepot.com/delivery for more details.
Not another one.
26-year-old male, wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
How's the driver in the other vehicle?
Yeah, thankfully she's okay. She had her seatbelt on.
It's really sad. You know, these tragedies are entirely preventable.
It said click it or ticket, but for some, they should be so lucky. Besides getting a ticket or a fine, the consequences could take your life. So don't risk it. Click it or ticket. This message is brought to you by NHTSA.
Want to stay out of the dark the next time a storm hits? Then reach out to Calvi Electric, a certified Generac dealer. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Calvi Electric, the premier electrical contractor serving South Jersey for over 115 years. Visit calvielectric.com today and stay ahead of any storm.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennick on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Back to the text board now. We got Pat in EHT who chimes in and says, Phillies regressed after 2008, question mark. He says they had better records each of the next 3 seasons. The problem was Amaro. They bolstered the pitching rotation while Charlie was an offensive-minded coach. Well, Pat in EHT, here's what I mean by regressed. 2008, they won the World Series. 2009, they lost the World Series. 2010, they lost the NLCS. 2011, they lost the NLDS. So, yes, they literally went backwards in the postseason every single year. To me, that's a regression. Now, you see the problem with Ruben Amaro Jr. Look, I have been very critical of Ruben Amaro Jr. over the years, as many people have. But I don't think him bolstering the pitching staff was necessarily his biggest fault or problem. To me, the biggest fault or problem with the Phillies when it came to that era was a little more nuanced than bolstering the rotation when the manager was an offensive-minded coach. I think one of the problems with the team is that I think that they spent too much time depending on the big three was going to save them. And then when the big three couldn't save them, the rest of the roster was not built out well enough around them. In 2008, they got contributions from guys not named Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, and Jimmy Rollins. That was a huge part of their success. In the years after 2008, when they replaced Pat Burrell with Raul Ibanez, when they eventually let Jason Worth walk, when they brought in Hunter Pence, right? When they kept exchanging different guys to play third base. You know, the various players who became interchangeable for the team while they were building around the big three, they did not always bring in the right players. I thought there were times that the offensive bats went cold in 2010 and 2011. There's nothing wrong with bolstering a pitching staff, and you could argue that that bolstered pitching staff was a huge reason why they got to the 2009 World Series. But they lost in the World Series because in some of those games, their bullpen didn't get the job done. Some of those games, the hitting didn't get the job done. So, for as much as and again, I agree with you, Amaro Jr. was a problem. I don't think bolstering the pitching staff was the actual problem. I think they didn't give Charlie Manuel and the coaching staff the right hitters to complement the bolstering of the pitching staff. They went so heavy on the pitching in terms of the starting rotation, they didn't do enough for the lineup and the bullpen because they made the assumption that the big three was going to carry them, and there were times that Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, and Jimmy Rollins just weren't enough. George from Galloway chimes in and says, I have a master's in psychology. I didn't know that you were certified in psychology, weight loss, weight management. What's your favorite interesting fact you learned along the way in getting your certification? That's for George in Galloway. I would say what was most interesting about that whole certification process, because, health and fitness is very different than regular psychology, as you can imagine, George and Galloway. So I would say that the biggest thing that I learned in that whole process was, when it comes to sports science, there is just as much reprogramming involved when it comes to biology and the chemistry of the human body as there is with the reprogramming of the mind. The best and highest performing athletes, what takes them from being just another guy who played sports in high school to a next level, is that they get to a point where they change their diet and they change their lifestyle and they change their mentality so drastically from the average person that they are literally just completely different than everyone else, which is absolutely wild. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Catch you tomorrow.
The NBA playoffs continue on ESPN Radio. Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Edwards, three-pointer, yes! Anthony Edwards with the triple.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Gilgeous-Alexander open three. Bang, he got it!
Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Coverage begins tomorrow at 8 Eastern, with tip-off at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Listen to the Western Conference Finals exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.